find rest, my soul, in Christ alone. Yeah. Know His power in quietness and trust. When the oceans rise and thunders roll, I will soar with you above the storm. Yes, I will. Father, you are king over the flood. I will be still, know you, dark out. When the oceans rise and thunders roll, I will soar with you above the storm. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. You are king over the flood. I will be still, know you, my God. When the oceans rise and thunders roll, say I will soar with you above the storm. Father, you are king over every single I will be still, know you, my God. Oh, yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. I will be still, know oh,
Good day! I hope you guys are well and doing great amid our very tight schedule and a lot of paperworks. Anyway, today we will be discussing the part 1 of our lesson number 3 entitled Creating Reality Through Fiction. And without further ado, let's proceed to the discussion. There was an old woman called Gervasia de Guzman. To neighborhood children who loved listening to her stories told after a meal, she was simply Tandang Basyang. In the literary hands of the Filipino playwright Severino Reyes, she became Lola Basyang. More precisely, she became the storyteller in Mga Kwento ni Lola Basyang, or the Tales of Grandma Basyang. These tales written by Reyes are enchanting and fantastic stories with moral lessons for children. Reyes wrote more than 400 tales about kingdoms, legendary animals, the sun and the stars, dwarfs, and other magical stories. The real Lola Basyang and Severino Reyes were neighbors in Manila. Reyes adopted her name as his pen name. For quite some time, readers mistook Reyes for Lola Basyang. Severino Reyes is considered as the father of the Tagalog play, and his most popular play is entitled Walang Sugat, written on 1902. In real life, Reyes was affectionately called Don Binoy. The Danish writer Karen Blixen also wrote using the pen name Isabelle Nessen. Her tales are usually set in the past with a ghostly and mystical air and unpredictable characters. In a 1956 interview, she was asked if she disagreed with the reader's observation that her tales were artificial. Pointedly, the Nessen confirmed, "Of course they are artificial. They were meant to be, for such is the essence of the tale-telling art." Artificiality is the essence of fiction. From the Latin artificialis, the term means made by humans and applied to things that are natural, real, or not. Spanish painter Pablo Picasso declared that art is a lie that makes us realize truth. The artist must convincingly prove the truth of a lie. In other words, fiction is a believable make-believe story. And what do you expect to gain by reading make-believe stories? For the answer, we can look to a group of people whose business is to gather facts. Scientists, particularly the psychologists. The benefits of fiction based on facts, according to Marcus Appel, an Australian psychologist, compared viewers who watch news and documentaries with viewers who prefer television drama or comedy. He found out that those who like watching fictional drama or comedy have a stronger sense of justice than those who like watching news and documentary shows. In television fiction, people are either rewarded or punished for their wrongdoings. Appel believed that regular exposure to fictional stories about justice leads people to believe that the world is just a place. Another psychologist is this Canadian named Raymond Marr and Keith Oatley. They conducted a test to confirm if fiction improves people's sympathy and compassion towards others. In their test, readers who immersed themselves in fictional books performed better on empathy scales. Thus, fiction helps in making the world a better place, for it improves interpersonal understanding, said by Gottschall back in 2012. In China, science fiction was banned until 2007. When the government finally approved the country's first science fiction and fantasy convention, fantasy writer Neil Gaiman attended it and asked an official why the government allowed the convention. The official told Gaiman that the Chinese did not know how to imagine, and thus not create, innovate, or invent. The Chinese government decided to send a delegation to Apple, Microsoft, and Google to find out about the people creating these innovative and unique products. The delegation found out that they all read science fiction during childhood, said by Gaiman in 2013, and the Chinese government finally faced the fact of fiction. People need it. Fiction is usually written in the form of a short story and a longer novel. A short story can be written up to 500 to 9,000 words, while a novel usually runs from 60,000 to more than 100,000 words. One of the basic facts about fiction is that it is usually written in the form of a short story and a longer novel. A short story can be written up in 500 to 9,000 words, while a novel usually runs from 60,000 to more than 100,000 words. In most instances, the real world provides the words that constitute fiction. French author Victor Hugo noticed the Greek word for fate carved in a little nook of the Notre Dame Cathedral. A tormented soul must have engraved this word, according to his imagination, and that one word found led Hugo to write The Hunchback of Notre Dame in 1831. In its abridged version, the novel is more than 500 pages. Another example is The God of Small Things, written in 1997 by an Indian author named Arundhati Roy. It reveals how small things expose the big things that society accepts without questions. In fiction, you bring the readers to a new place, meet new people, or witness events simply by reading. Your task as a writer is to find such places, people, or events. And where would you find them? Look around and there they are, in the real world. Slices of life or reality serve as inspiration to most fiction writers. This means that such reality has personally touched the viewer. Then it becomes the seed or the starting point for writing something fictional. Here are some examples of starting points for writing fiction based on facts. First is the personal experience. American novelist, writer, and journalist Ernest Hemingway wrote For Whom the Bell Tolls on his experiences of the Spanish Civil War, and Hemingway used real people as well as fictional ones as his characters. Next up is something that you've heard. The Moon and Sixpence is based on the life of the French artist Paul Gauguin. Somerset Maugham, a British playwright, novelist, and a short story writer, heard about the artist and made him an English character. Next is something that you have seen. American author John Steinbeck was inspired to write The Grapes of Wrath upon seeing an old and dilapidated car loaded with poor migrants from Oklahoma. Next is some questions about your life. An English novelist and dramatist Henry Fielding believed that humans tend to overlook the goodness in everyone. He then made Tom Jones, a character born out of wedlock. Around him, Fielding explored the idea of right and wrong. Another one is a strong feeling against something. Mark Twain is an American writer best known for his classical novel, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, and Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin were both written as a reaction against slavery in US. Meanwhile, the Philippine national hero Jose Rizal wrote Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo to condemn the abuses of Spanish colonial and church authorities in the Philippines. And the last one is use the history as a source. Filipino novelist Carlos Bulosan, Set his novel America is in the Heart during America's Great Depression. It was a time of acute economic hardships for American, but more so if one was a Filipino. The Rosales saga by the Filipino writer Francisco Sionel Jose is a story of 5 generations of 2 families. It spans the Spanish and American periods until the Philippines gained its independence in 1946. These are just some of the most common starting points for writing fiction based on facts. But let's remember that there are unlimited inspirations for fiction just as there are different people, places, and occasions. A chat with a friend can give you an idea for a newspaper report. Perhaps you dream of living an adventurous life in some unknown place with monsters or mystical people and animals. Changes in people's lifestyle, changing social attitudes, or technological advances are great sources for writing fiction. Business or corporate culture is another common source. And watching the news makes you a witness to social upheavals in other countries. These are sources of fictionalized stories. All in all, if you really want to write a fiction based on facts, then the best thing you need to do is to observe the things that is happening around you. Observe your friends, observe the world, observe someone whom you don't know. And by that, create your very own first fictionalized story based on facts. Now, before we end the session, let's all remember that fiction is what makes us see the reality we live in. Now, on a short bond paper, complete this exercise. For number one, try to recall what has happened to you in the past week. This may include the emotions, some passing thoughts, situations, or people that you have met. Number two, list down 5 things that you think can be developed into a story. Number two, list down 5 things that you can think be developed into a story. And number three, you're going to have to list 5 ways these 5 things can be developed into a fictional story. Once again, I am using the book entitled Creative Nonfiction by Lorna Q. Israel as my reference point for everything that I've been talking about. And yeah, good luck on the activity that I've given you, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!